in the right direction, because, like you said, if she stays healthy, uh, every arena she goes to is going to be full. You're going to get fans out there, and through those fans showing up, maybe your local team builds a fan base. They haven't been able to yet. This could be the person, and maybe if you get it, Reese, get on her shoulder, be her better angel, and say, embrace the rivalry, but don't try and turn it into a sideshow. Embrace the rivalry. Say, I want, by the end of the year, I'm going to win the Rookie of the Year. Be that. Be the brash one. Be for lack of a better example, be Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. Well,
Be
that's my thing. I mean, instead of just talking about how great you are, go out and play well. And, like I said, have win your team a championship or become the rookie of the year or become the player of the year, and then people will be talking about you. But if you get more attention because people are watching because of her,
and hating you,
that's going to benefit everybody.
And hating you, because
Yeah.
if you're gonna play the villain, you better be good. You know what I mean? If you're gonna embrace the villain role, you better be good. And one other thing before we get off this for a minute, Gino Ariema was on the Dan Patrick show, and he even came out and said, "I don't, with her frame, I don't see her holding up if this keeps up."
Well,
So,
he came straight out and said that he thinks that she's being targeted.
yeah,
And this isn't a guy that just says stuff to says stuff. I mean,
no.
we know you know him just as well as I do, paying attention to sports as we have. He came right out and said, she's being targeted. He said, are there rookie hardships that are inherent with being a rookie? Yes. And he said that's part of it. But he goes, do I think she's being targeted? Yeah. Yeah, he said that the foul in the Chicago Sky game was not a basketball play.
No.
He said that
no, it wasn't. It was a mugging.
Even her own coach, Teresa Weatherspoon, who was a damn good player in her own right, she said that it wasn't appropriate. But this is confusing to me because this girl has a history of this. She's gotten in altercations with her own teammates, and then people are surprised that she's out there beating up Caitlin Clark. I mean, I don't understand why people are shocked. She's done this before.
Yeah, I don't know much about her history, but from what I'm gaining about it, she makes Draymond Green look like a saint. But
yeah. Well, let's just say this: she was drafted number 4 overall by I don't even know the name of the team, but the team in Atlanta, and she was on the team for a year. And then the second season that she was on the team, she was cut, basically waived, because she was fighting with her own teammates. She then got picked up by the team in LA, the Sparks. I know that team name. And she was waived by them for similar behavior. And then she had to go overseas to even get a chance to play. So she doesn't have a good track record. And based on what we've seen so far this year, I'm not sure it was a great idea by Chicago to pick her up. I'm not saying she's not a talented player. I think she does have some talent, but there needs to be there has to be consequences for your actions. And if you just keep doing the same thing and you never really, you get released from one team, another team picks you up, you're just like, wow, I guess no one cares, and then you just keep doing it, and that's a problem I see here.
True. Well, I wanted to do another thing that came out of this interview with, I guess it's hit the papers this morning. We're staying along the line of college basketball here. It looks like the Lakers are going to pursue Danny Hurley in a big way to try and get him away from UConn. That I'm not very approving of. But with the NIL, with the problems, with the things we see going on, Nick Saban retiring, all these coaches getting out of it. And with the fact that the Lakers are willing to dangle a lot of money in front of Danny Hurley, he'll have LeBron James and Anthony Davis there next year. How tough is it going to be for Danny Hurley to say no and stay in the college game?
Um, this is I'm glad you brought this up because this is very, very interesting to me. I don't know if you recall, but 20 years ago, the Lakers came to Mike Krzyzewski. He was kind of at the height of, he went on to do additional things, but he was at the height of college basketball. And the Lakers tried to lure him away. And, he inevitably said, no, this is my home. I'm a college basketball coach. I'm here to stay. And I don't know whether or not Danny will, I don't know Danny that well. I definitely know Bobby. I've met Bobby before. I know him better. I don't know Danny as well. But, I would think that with college basketball being more of a business, that he might be more apt to do it. Now, this is a guy who, watched his dad stay. His dad could have left, the high school coaching ranks many times. And from what I've heard, he had offers, but he stayed where he was because he loved what he did, and he loved the school, and he loved the kids. I think there's a lot of that in Danny, but this may be an opportunity that he just can't pass up. I mean, this may not happen again, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If he says no now, there may not be another team come by, and certainly not a team like the Lakers. And I know they're talking to him today. I saw some posts come out from some respectable reporters who said that Danny had a meeting with the team around noon today and told them, this is real. I am meeting with them, but we got to shoot around at 3:00. So be there, and business as usual. So I don't think anything's happened yet, but I definitely think he's considering that. The thing that I kept going back to is how many guys have we seen that were great college basketball coaches that tried to go to the
Billy
NBA.
Donovan.
He's had more success than a lot of them. I mean, he's still doing it. But, You're talking about Kruger. You're talking about Leonard Hamilton, Jerry Tarkanian, Calipari, Rick Pitino.
The immortal Dick Vitale.
I mean, there's just been hundreds and hundreds of guys that, were very successful coaches. Mike Montgomery, who coached the Warriors, and didn't last very long. I mean, it's just happened time and time again where these guys are very successful in college basketball and then get in the NBA and it doesn't work. Now, I do think, with the advent of the transfer portal and the NIL, college basketball has become more like professional basketball. I still don't know how how the coaching would translate. And so I'm very interested to see whether or not he takes this offer, and then B, how he does. But I'm confused as to why they're going after him. I would think that, they tried Marvin Ham. They've tried a couple of different coaches. Frank Vogel worked for a time. I think he had some disagreements with Rob Pelinka, and that was the reason he got shoved out of town. But you would think with them needing to win now, I mean, LeBron's not, I know he's still playing phenomenally, but he's not going to be around much longer.
Yeah.
They're in win now mode to the nth degree. And I would think they would want someone who has just proven, has a proven track record in the league. I thought they would go after somebody who's at least coached a game in the NBA before.
Well, I agree with you there. I mean, but the thing is, like you said, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you catch lightning in a bottle with Danny Hurley. I mean, the worst thing is, I think, like you said about his father, I think he's built for what the college game used to be. I think he's, the tough part about it is this NIL and the transfer portal is ruining college sports because you're going to lose coaches right and left. It's a pain in the butt for these guys to deal with. Besides going out and normally recruiting, you got to recruit your players again. You got to try and get people. You're looking like the professional coaches looking at the waiver wire with the transfer portal. Who can I grab off the transfer portal and get in here? So I don't know. The thing about Danny Hurley though is you're coming off winning 2 in a row. You right now should be the place everybody wants to go and play. He plays his team. I love the style of play they play. It's not like they play a boring style. They play an exciting brand of basketball. I don't think you could ask for a better place to be than UConn, if you, at least inside the gym, and playing for Danny Hurley. But I don't know. I would hope that the chance to be the first team since UCLA to three-peat would be something that would hold him here. I don't think. I think he'll make. I don't. I think UConn will pay him enough money. I mean, They just gave Ariema a 5-year extension. I'm sure he'll make the money through. I don't think it'll be about the money. I think it'll be about, do I want to go through the hassle of college game? If I'm going to get this kind of a hassle, why don't I go do the pros and see what I can do up there? That's the only reason I could see him leaving.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I mentioned that I'm very interested to see what happens is, if he does leave, what does that say about college basketball? I mean, look at Jim Boeheim, Roy Williams, Coach Krzyzewski. I mean, we can go on and on and on with the guys that have stepped away, citing, Nick Saban and football, saying that it's time. And I think that's a product of what we're seeing. These guys that have done this for 20, 30 years are like, I'm not dealing with this crap. And, I've seen some of the younger coaches, move. We've seen it, Heffley, the coach at Boston College, he left as the head coach at Boston College to be a coordinator in the NFL. Right. Chip Kelly, who was the head coach at UCLA, was like, man, I'm not dealing with this anymore. I want to go call plays. And he left to be the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. So we're seeing a trend in my mind where guys are just like, I'm not dealing with this. I don't want to deal with this. I'm out. And I think it would be a huge blow to the sport of college basketball if Danny Hurley were to pick up and leave, not go after a three-peat, not stay in college. I mean, he's the best coach in college basketball right now based on, the winning percentage, based on what he's done in the last 2-3 years. And I think it would be a shame if he were to leave the sport.
I definitely agree with you. Another thing, I want to skip up to the NFL. I must have missed this. It showed up on my radar this week. Hassan Reddick is a Jet.
Correct. Yeah. No. He the Eagles traded him to the Jets a while ago, and mainly because they brought in they're installing a whole new defense, and they brought in Vic Fangio is going to be running their defense, so they're switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4, and Hassan Reddick he didn't think would fit into his plans, and they traded him to New York.
How did the Giants miss out on him? B, I mean, this is one. 2 years ago, next to Micah Parsons, he was probably the most devastating linebacker in football. And this is where I look at, and if it destroys Philadelphia, I'm all for it. But the fact of the matter is, this is a team that was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they're constantly rejuggling and redoing things. Sirianni, I mean, I don't know how to say this. They're a team that you see San Francisco tweaking. You see other teams tweaking. They go over, it seems like a facelift every offseason and try and do something to change their way of doing things. Is this something that is going to, as a Giant fan, is this something that's going to maybe bring the Eagles back towards the Giants, or is this something that's going to help them build and keep building? What do you think?
Well, first off, I think this wasn't the plan of the Eagles. I mean, they were successful. They had a tremendous season. They were dominant on both offense and defense. They went to the Super Bowl, and then both of their coordinators were plucked away for head coaching jobs. Right. One in Indianapolis, one in Arizona. So then they had to start over, and they promoted from within on offense. That didn't go well. Obviously, the collapse at the end of the season was horrific. I mean, it really was. They were 11-1, 10-1, and then things just started to fall apart. And they're Howie Roseman and Lurie were demanding answers, and somebody had to fall on the sword, and it was the two guys that came in, and I don't think that they just want to switch coordinators every year. It was the two guys got plucked away, and that caused some issues because they made it all the way to the Super Bowl. So it wasn't like there was all these coaches out there waiting for jobs at the time that they needed them. They were the last team to quit playing other than the Chiefs. And so they had to, take what was left or promote from within, which is what they did. And it didn't work out. So now they're moving on. And, I don't really understand the scheme change. I probably, if it was, if I was in charge, which I'm not, I would have, probably gone after someone who, runs a similar scheme. That being said, this is a whole new team. I mean, Fletcher Cox is gone. Jason Kelsey is gone. I can't remember. I don't believe Brandon Graham is coming back. So this team is changing. And if you were going to make a scheme change, maybe now's the opportunity. But I don't think they really wanted to get rid of Hassan Reddick. His contract was expiring. The scheme change was coming. I think he expressed interest in wanting a new deal. Joe, you know more than anyone, you can't pay everybody. Okay?
No, I know.
They paid A.J. Brown. They paid Devontae Smith. They paid Jalen Hurts. You just can't have 6 guys making $30 million on your roster. I mean, you just can't do it. And so I think they were real honest with Hassan and told him, hey man, we can't give you a big deal right now. And that's just not something we can do as far as an extension goes. And so they traded the Jets, but now the Jets apparently didn't do their homework and didn't have a deal for him. And now he's not even showing up to mandatory OTAs and says he wants a new deal or he's not coming in. So, just more disaster in New York for the Jets. And maybe that's one of the reasons the Giants, stayed away because they didn't want to, they didn't have the ability to do a contract extension with him.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, usually a head coach, they have their vision. They favor the 3-4 or the 4-3. They favor a passing offense or a rushing offense. They favor and they try and get their coordinators to run the kind of offense or defense they're comfortable with. Most times they don't give carte blanche to their defensive coordinator or their offensive coordinator and say, do what you want. It's usually they have their vision of what they want their team to be. The other question I have about it is like Vic Fangio's nobody new to the NFL. He's been around for a long period of time. He's had some good stops, some bad stops, but it's not like you're going out and getting what they had when Sirianni got there. 2 really young, up and coming, an offensive coordinator up and coming, a defensive coordinator up and coming, where people didn't know what they were doing. The thing I see with the NFL now is it's changing. It's going to a younger coaching staff. They in a lot of cases, they're phasing out the old war horses that used to show up, the Dom Capers, these guys that showed up in each town if they got fired from a head coaching job or they didn't, or the head coach they worked for got fired. They would show up. Wade Phillips was another guy like that would show up. And I just think the one thing I would say about Vic Fangio is we know him. The NFL knows him. They know what he likes to do. They know what he's probably going to do. I don't know if that's a really good hire for Philadelphia.
We know him, and he's been successful pretty much everywhere he's ever been. In some instances, he hasn't had a chance to really get his defense going. Is he my favorite defensive coordinator? Not really. But do I think he can, take this team in Philadelphia and do something with them? Yeah, I do. I think they have the personnel to be successful with the type of defense that Vic likes to play. And, they've got the 2 big guys up front, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. They've got the linebackers and Nolan Smith, Devin White, and Nakobe Dean. And then they've got a pretty decent secondary with some depth. And so I think, there's talent there. And last year it was head scratching to a lot of people as to why this defense fell apart down the stretch. And honestly, even during the beginning of the season, the defense wasn't that great. I think they were winning games more based on their offense than they were their defense. So, that's what I think. You need to think about is that this is a talented team. And if Vic can come in and get his defense installed and get these guys to buy in, I think he has a chance to be really successful here. I mean, who did you want him to hire? I don't know anybody else who really sticks out that I think could come in and do a better job just based on where this team is.
Yeah, I don't have the names, but I mean, I just think that it's trending towards young, new minds, fresh minds, coming up with new ideas. We're going through it. I think 20 years ago, you'd have the Dan Reeves, the Bill Parcells, the Jimmy Johnsons being mentioned when jobs were open. Now it's kind of like they're going younger from the head coach down and bringing some new blood in. I don't know. I just wondered why, if there was somebody out there younger, maybe you had heard about, that maybe could have fit the bill, maybe a little bit more than Fangio. But as a Giant fan, I'm hoping he fails. But as a Giant fan, I'm probably going to see him beat the crap out of the Giants again twice. So who am I to say?
Yeah, I mean, my thing is on on offense. I think is going to be even more of a change because they brought in Kellen Moore. Yeah. And Kellen Moore is just, he runs a completely, I mean, you saw him in Dallas, you saw him in LA running the Chargers. It's a completely different offense than what they've been doing in Philadelphia. And in fact, Jalen Hurts was interviewed today, and he said that 95% of this offense that's being installed right now in mandatory minicamp is brand new. And do I think Kellen Moore is proven that he can call plays in this league? Yeah, I do. But do I know for certain that his offense is going to work with these guys? I don't. No. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see about that. Anything else around the NFL you wanted to touch base about?
Lots of things going on right now with the people showing up, not showing up, and that's always something to me that's interesting. One, obviously we just talked about, Hassan Reddick has refused to show up in New York. But the biggest one to me is got to be the biggest one that's being talked about, and that's Lamar Jackson. You know me, I love Lamar Jackson. He's Derrick Henry's my favorite player. Lamar Jackson's number 2, but I don't understand how not showing up right now is helping the team. He's not getting hit. He's not going to get injured. I mean, there's always a chance of injury, I guess, but this is the time. You got paid, okay? If he didn't show up last year, I would have completely understood. He was waiting for his deal, and he deserved a new deal. He got it. He went out, won the MVP. They fell a little bit short in the playoffs, but this is when you show up, you prove yourself as a leader, and you make the team and yourself better. How's he getting better by not being there, Joe?
No, he's not, and he's also setting a poor example as a leader because everybody else feels, well, if he's not there, why do I have to be here?
My exact point. And he's also getting fined every day he's not there, and he's already cost himself with not showing up to the voluntary stuff, and now missing the mandatory stuff. He's going to end up costing himself close to $1 million. And I know $1 million is like $50 to me and you with him, but it's still $1 million. And I just don't really get monetarily why he's showing up, and football wise why he's not showing up. I don't. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I'm pretty confused. And as you know, and as I just said, I love the guy. He's one of my favorite players, and I'm still even having trouble here, criticizing him because I like him so much. But I'm confused as to why why he's doing this.
Yeah, I don't have any answers. I don't know the man, but I just know that as a leader, Um, hey, Daniel Jones is in camp with the Giants, and he's coming off an injury. Aaron Rodgers is in camp with the Jets, and he's coming off an injury.
Yeah.
There's most of those guys are in camp, and like you said, I mean, yeah, $1 million to him doesn't mean much, but remember, these are the athletes who in 10 years are crying when they can't make that kind of money anymore.
Right.
So
Right.
it's
This is your chance, and when you're just giving away $1 million for no reason, makes no sense. And one thing I think we also need to hit on, obviously Lamar's the biggest story right now, but the other big story is the Chiefs. I mean, what's going on with this offseason? It's just been one thing after another. We had the Rashee Rice car accident where him and his buddy are racing in Rashee Rice's two cars. They wreck him. They injure 7 people. He gets arrested. Then he gets, then he gets questioned and potentially arrested again for a, altercation. Then you had Biggs, their defensive tackle, who gets, has a warrant out for his arrest for mistreatment of animals. And then today, defensive end B.J. Thompson has a seizure and goes into cardiac arrest at the team's practice facility. So, if ever the Chiefs and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes had their work cut out for them, I think it's going to be this year, because this offseason just can't end soon enough for these guys. Maybe getting back to football and getting back to the regular season will be a good thing for them. But as of right now, it's just been a disaster, and one thing after another.
Well, I think another thing is, and a lot of this is, I can't blame it. What I was going to say was going to make no sense at all, so I'm just going to drop it. Maybe it's the football gods looking out for the rest of the NFL because they made it look too easy the last 2 years. Who knows? Before we go, we didn't get to this on Sunday, but I wanted to bring this up. The death of Bill Walton. I know he annoyed a lot of people as an announcer, because he had that, totally over the top personality, kind of. But Bill Walton, to me, he's one of the basketball players that got me into college basketball. I was a young kid and I read the Walton Gang. I actually watched him religiously his senior year. And he was such a great college basketball player. He could have been a great pro if his legs had held out. If you saw him early with Portland, he was kind of a Jokic. He was kind of I can do everything. I can pass. I can defend. I can do anything you want me to do. And it's a shame we never got to see what he did in college in the pros. And I didn't watch a lot of NBA basketball that he was on, but he never annoyed me. But here's a guy who it's a shame he left this world early, because in a way he lived a life that everybody should live. I mean, he was a star basketball player at UCLA. He was a drummer with the Grateful Dead on the road. He was an MVP in the NBA. He's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he got everything out of life he could get out of life, but he will be missed.
He is one of those people that very few people that is great at everything that he does. And whether it's playing basketball, whether it's, being a deadhead, whether it's being a commentator, whether it's being an ambassador to the game, he was just great at everything. And I'm one of the, I guess maybe I'm in the minority, but I loved watching him do a basketball game, because I could watch Cal versus Oregon State at midnight in the Pac-12 and be entertained by listening to Bill Walton. And I just loved listening to do NBA games. I loved listening to him do college basketball games. The guy had personality. The guy had character. The guy had charisma. The world is definitely a less exciting place without Bill Walton around. And, I didn't even know he was sick. And I was really, really, just kind of beat up after I heard that he had passed away, because I just always loved the guy. I mean, 1, because I'm a basketball fan, 2, because I'm a deadhead, and 3, because I'm a Bill Walton fan. And all 3 of those things took a hit when he left us.
And you think about it, there was no more conservative of basketball coach than John Wooden. I mean, John Wooden was staunch conservative, and you have this guy who's a deadhead who's taking part of sit-ins against the Vietnam War in the 70s, getting arrested, but when basketball time came, Wooden wouldn't put up with it. And he never acted up then. It was just like, during the offseason, you had to worry about him. But when basketball was in play, he was there every year. And I'll never forget watching Notre Dame upset them and end in an 88 game winning streak with my dad, because my dad was a big Notre Dame fan. And it was a fantastic game. Notre Dame had to play so far over their heads. It was amazing. But they pulled the upset. And then I remember him, North Carolina State, in the semifinals, double overtime. David Thompson overcame Bill Walton and the Walton gang. So that was the start of my love of college basketball.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, my friend, you gonna do anything this? I'm dog sitting this weekend. Yay! I got two big dogs I got to take care of. So that's my thing. What's your plans for the weekend?
No, man, my plan is to get some rest. We're got a big couple of weeks. I've got a show next week, and so this weekend we're going to take it easy, try and catch up on some sleep. And we've had swim camp all week this week, so this weekend we're going to go see how that swim camp paid off and see the new skills. So we're going to hit the pool up and take it easy.
All right. Have a great weekend. I will see you next week. Everybody who tuned in tonight, thank you for tuning in. We will be back next week with more of the Safety and the Sportswriter Show. Talk to you guys later.
All right, bud.